Boop boop be doop. Y'all can see that I'm way more relaxed now. Now that we're going into a fiction book. All that good shit. Oh fuck! You know what I should have done? One second. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I gotta do something else for this here so that y'all know what we're reading. Um, fuck yeah. I'll be right back. I'll be right back, you guys. It's just three of you. I'll be right back. I forgot to download the book. You know, I always need really I need to start this book club at like what do you call it? I need to start this book club at like 9:30. Cuz that's usually when I'm able to get my shit together well enough. Why aren't you letting me download this fucking book? Okay. Jesus Christ. I think everything I will always be like haphazardly prepared for everything that I do here. There's never going to be a time where like all right, I just got to make sure the mic is working. Uh there's never going to be a time where I'm like fully prepared. Just like some nigger rig shit, you know. All right, give me this. There, I actually like that one. Download image. Thank you. That's all I needed you to do. So now we go back here.
Yes, I have definitely.
Aye, that's loud. Go back here. I got effects. This nice. Okay. And now I can like make that smaller or bigger. And just put this somewhere in the corner. Right there. Right there. There's more negative space over here. Bam. Why are you growling? Fuck you, thingy. Alright, there we go. Bam. Put it in the negative space. Why are you growling? What are you growling about? Y'all's nephew is doing the most. Okay, great. Awesome. Let me make sure. YouTube. Bam. Alright, cool. So we're up on YouTube. Which hopefully it says that it's excellent, so you guys can see us there. We're up here. Nope. Damn. Fuck. Not reading chapter 8. Shit. I gotta change that blurb. I don't know what that is. Oh, there we go. Alright. Reading. Who fears death by. How do I spell this? In. I'm gonna make sure I'm spelling that name right. Yeah, Nnedi Okorafor. Bam. All right. We should be set up now. We should be set up now. We're ready to go. Cool beans. Okay. Literally no one is here just yet, so that's nice. Y'all can see my belly and shit. Eesh. Oh god. Mm. Okay. All right, we're good to go now. I think. Just gonna slide right in here. Alrighty. Bit more. Okay. All right. For nobody in particular, welcome to the book club. Welcome to the book club, people on YouTube. We just finished up Vulture Capitalism by Grace Blakely last week, and we're going to be diving into a new book this week. And this week is going to be really special because it's the inaugural reading of a fiction book. I have never read a fiction book for book club yet. The community all voted to read this book. If you wanted to, see what other options we had, because I'll probably just recycle those for the next round of fiction books that we're going to be reading. Swing over to the Patreon. Right now, it's titled Where It Counts. It's going to change eventually. All that good shit. But yeah, we voted for this book. It is an Afrofuturistic book. I'm really excited about it because it sounds unbelievably interesting. And it kind of dovetails into the animated book that I've been reacting to, Iyanu. So, all in all, the whole thing seems fascinating, scary, mature, fucked up. We're gonna be diving into it. But before we do, here are some ground rules. This is my book club. This is a very sacred space for me and the people who are part of this book club community and all that good stuff. So we try to be respectful here, first and foremost. That's really important. We don't want to denigrate. We're not here to argue. This is a fiction book, so we're just here to chill, coke and joke, and like enjoy being in a totally different world. We're going to be, you know, using our imaginations together and seeing how that feels and going through this journey. So I'm really interested in all of that. With that being said, you guys are more than welcome to interact with me, with each other here in the chat or on YouTube. If you're in the chat on YouTube, you can interact with each other there too. Um, Also, if you want to read along with me, um, the book is up there on YouTube so that you can read along, all that cool shit. So that should be there. If you've missed this chapter or anything like that, don't worry. I will have. I need to put up last week's reading, but you can also read along with us when we switch over to the Patreon and all that stuff. The live will be up there as well. Yeah, so be respectful. We don't need to argue. I got a moderator in here, I think, so they are encouraged to abuse and weaponize their rights as a moderator. So if you're gonna be on some fuck shit, we play a game here. Either you're going to hell yeah. If either they're gonna get you or I'm gonna get you. It just depends on who gets you who first. I'm usually pretty quick, so they'll have to catch up. But outside of that, um, baby, can you? Oh yeah, we got special guest stars because it's not just Marcel ruining and trying to break my shit. He's taking a nap now, so he's good. But baby girl is here. She's doing some work right next to me, so you might hear her chime in. Maybe I don't know, possibly. Baby, can you pass me my water bottle? Thank you. All right, you gotta remember to stay hydrated. Mm. Uh, if you're on YouTube, you can see like a sliver of baby. She's like right here. This little piece of arm. You don't have to hide it. You're fine. But yeah. Um, what do you want, Papa? Really, I understand why you're pouting. You know what I'm saying? I understand you want to be up underneath me. And that's fine. Stop it. I'm going to get you, okay? Just let me set up. That's all you gotta do is let me set up. He is hungry for chaos. The guy is just so much. Okay, anyways, we're getting ready to read this book. Should I read the blurb for this? I think I should. Since we don't know yet. Yeah, yeah. I think that would be the smart thing to do. That's an alarm letting me know that I need to be live. Really, this book club really does need to start at 9:30. I was just saying that shit. It needs to start at 9:30. I'm too haphazard and too discombobulated for shit. I don't want to go to. Okay, we'll do Wikipedia. We're gonna read this blurb from Wikipedia. This book here. Um, Let me know if if somebody pops up in the YouTube chat or something like that. Please let me know um, how the audio is and all that good stuff because I can't tell and all that. But yeah, here we go. Um, so, Who Fears Death is a science fantasy novel by Nigerian American writer Nnedi Okorafor, published in 29 or 2010 by DAW. No, I want the blurb. That's very long. See, I know I shouldn't have gone to Wikipedia. It's going to give me too much. I don't want to give too much information away. Papa, just relax, man. Here, we'll do Goodreads instead. Goodreads will have the blurb that I'm looking for. Okay, come here. Come here, Papa. Come here, you big baby. I know you want to be up underneath. Okay, here. Is that good? You feel a little bit better? Okay. I don't want none of that. All right, here we go. Here's the blurb that I'm looking for. Okay, so Who Fears Death? Um, in a far future, post nuclear Holocaust Africa, genocide plagues one region. The aggressors, the Nuru, have decided to follow the Great Book and exterminate the Okoye or Okeke or Okiki. I want to say Okiki, right? But when the only surviving member of a slain Okiki village is brutally raped, she manages to escape, wandering farther into the desert. She gives birth to a baby girl with hair and skin the color of sand, and instinctively knows that her daughter is different. She names her daughter Anye Anye Sonu. Anye Anye Yesu Anye Sonu. There we go. Which means who fears death in an ancient African tongue. Reared under the tutelage of a mysterious and traditional shaman, Anye Sunuru discovers her magical destiny to end the genocide of her people. The journey to fulfill her destiny will force her to grapple with nature, tradition, history, true love, the spiritual mysteries of her culture, and eventually death itself. Right, that's what we're doing right now. It does filter a lot of comments. I don't know, TikTok is sensitive. Okay. I thought this is what you wanted, Pops. Okay. So that's the synopsis. Sounds interesting and fucked up enough, right? So let's dive into this bitch and see how we go, how we like it. Do 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 do. Who fears death? If y'all have ever had audible, it's like this is an audiobook. Who fears death? Oh, it got parts. Okay, so we got part one, becoming. Ooh. Part two, student. Part three, warrior. There are 48 chapters in this bitch. Nope, more. There are 62 chapters in this bitch. All right. This is a dense book. All right. Here we go. Sorry, I'm scrolling through all the shit for Ocean's PDF. Part one. You hate fiction? Come on, Phil. You got to do fiction. Fiction kind of, exactly what we need sometimes. Okay. Ooh. Part one. My father's face. My life fell apart when I was 16. Papa died. He had such a strong heart, yet he died. Was it the heat and smoke from his blacksmithing shop? It's true that nothing could take him from his work, his art. He lived to make the metal bend, to obey him. But his work only seemed to strengthen him. He was so happy in his shop. So what was it that killed him? Oh wait, there's two that's. Okay, that killed him. To this day, I can't be sure. I hope it had nothing to do with me or what I did back then. Immediately after he died, my mother came running out of the bedroom, sobbing and throwing herself against the wall. I knew then that I would be different. I knew in that moment huh, that I would never again be able to fully control the fire inside me. I became a different creature that day. Not so not so human. Everything that happened later, I now understand started then. The ceremony was held on the outskirts of town, near the sand dunes. It was the middle of the day and terribly hot. God damn. I need my mucinex. It was so we're at a ceremony. It's hot as balls. His body lay on a thick white cloth surrounded by a garland of braided fronds. What is a frond? What is a frond? Fornds.
A leaf or leaf-like part of a palm fern or a similar plant.
A leaf or a leaf-like part of a palm,
A fern
a
or a
fern,
similar plant.
or a similar
Let me
plant.
look for a picture.
Okay, a leaf. Okay, so that's what. Okay, I didn't know that had a name. Frond. Oh, that's elegant. So it's like, yeah. So he's laying on like a bunch of braided palm fronds and a thick white cloth. I knelt there. I knelt there in the sand next to his body, saying my last goodbye. I'll never forget his face. It didn't look like Papa's anymore. Papa's skin was dark brown, his lips were full. This face was sunken, or this face had sunken cheeks, deflated lips, and the skin like gray brown paper. Papa's spirit had gone elsewhere. The back of his neck prickled my white veil. Oh, hold on. Oop. Let's do that. Sorry. I gotta see the thing. I'm having a hard time. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. The back of my neck prickled. My white veil was a poor protection from people's ignorant and fearful eyes. By this time, everyone was always watching me. I clenched my jaw. Around me, women were on their knees, weeping and wailing. Papa was dearly loved, despite the fact that he'd married my mother, a woman with a daughter like me, an Iwu daughter. That had long been excused as one of those mistakes even the greatest man can make. Over the wailing, I heard my mother's soft whimper. She had suffered the greatest loss. It was her turn to have her last moment. Afterward, they'd take him for cremation. I looked down at his face one last time. I'll never see you again, I thought. I was ready. I blinked and touched my chest. Damn, I feel like I'm reading this in a very weird way.
Comme ça.
Hmm?
Comme ça. Why do you think it's weird?
I don't know. My pacing feels weird. All right, I got it. I just gotta not be so self-conscious about it. I don't know. Yeah, and there's nobody on the thing. I'm good.
Just be nosy.
Oh, you lost sight of the five head. This motherfucker's right here. So, sorry. All right. It was her turn to have her last moment. Afterwards, they'd take him for cremation. I looked down at his face one last time. I'll never see you again, I thought. I wasn't ready. I blinked and touched my chest. That's when it happened. When I touched my chest. At first, it felt like an itchy tingle. It quickly swelled into something more. The more I tried to get up, the more intense it got, and the more my grief expanded. They can't take him, I thought frantically. There is still so much metal left in his shop. He hasn't finished his work. The sensation spread through my chest and radiated out to the rest of my body. I rounded my shoulders to hold it on or to hold it in. Then I started pulling. I started pulling it from the people around me. I shuddered and gnashed my teeth. I was filling with rage. Oh, not here, I thought. Not at Papa's ceremony. Life wouldn't leave me alone long enough to even mourn my dead father. Behind me, the wailing stopped. All I heard was the gentle breeze. It was utterly eerie. Something was beneath me, in the ground, and maybe somewhere else. Suddenly, I was slammed with the pained emotions everyone around me had for Papa. Instinctively, I laid my hand on his arm. People started screaming. I didn't turn around. I was too focused on what I had to do. Nobody tried to pull me away. No one touched me. My friend Luyu's uncle was once struck by lightning during a rare dry season, Ungawa storm. Oh shit. So she's like really gaining all of this like tension and shit, right? I think she's absorbing everybody's energy. I think that's what's happening right now. He survived, but he couldn't stop talking about how it felt like being violently shaken from the inside out. That's how I felt now. I gasped with horror. I couldn't take my hand from Papa's arm. It was fused to him. Ooh, fused to him. My sand colored skin flowed into his gray brown skin from my palm, a mound of mingled flesh. I started screaming. It caught me in my throat, and I coughed. Then I stared. Papa's chest was slowly moving up and down, up and down. He was breathing. I was both repulsed and desperately hopeful. I took a deep breath and cried, "Live, Papa, live." A pair of hands settled on my wrists. I knew exactly whose they were. One of his fingers was broken and bandaged. If he didn't get his hands off of me, I'd hurt him far worse than I'd had 5 days prior. Ooh, shit. Who'd she fuck up? Onyesu, Ero said, it said into my ear, quickly taking his hand from my wrists. Oh, how I hated him. But I listened. He's gone, he said. Let go, so we can all be free of it. Somehow, I did. I let go of Papa. Everything went dead silent again, as if the world for a moment were submerged in water. Then the power that had built up inside of me burst. My veil was blown off of my head, and my freed braids whipped back. Everyone and everything was thrown back. Arrow, my mother, family, friends, acquaintances, strangers, the table of food, the 50 yams, the 13 large monkey bread fruits, the 5 cows, the 10 goats, the 30 hens, and much sand. Back in town, the power went off 30 seconds. Houses would need to be swept of sand, and computers would be taken in for dust damage. That underwater like silence again. I looked down at my hand. When I tried to remove it from my papa's cold, still dead arm, there was this sound of peeling, the weak glue flaking off. My hand felt like a silhouette of dried mucus on Papa's arm. I rubbed my fingers together. More of the stuff crackled and peeled from them. Ugh. Ugh. It's like death on the fingers. Oof. I took one more look at Papa. Then I fell over on my side and passed out. That was 4 years ago. Now, see me? People here know that I caused it all. They want to see my blood. They want to make me suffer. And then they want to kill me. Whatever happens after this, let me stop. Tonight, you want to know how I came to be what I am? You want to know how I got here? It's a long story, but I'll tell you. I'll tell you. You're a fool if you believe what others say about me. I tell I tell you my story to avert all the lies. Thankfully, even my long story will fit on that laptop of yours. I have 2 days. I hope it's enough time. It will all catch up to me soon. My mother named me Onyesunmu. It means who fears death. She named me well. I was born 20 years ago, during troubled times. Ironically, I grew up far from all the killing. All right. Okay. It's like 60 some odd chapters, but the chapters are like 2 pages? Ugh. That's a crazy intro. Yeah. Let's see.
A lot going on.
A lot going on. Yeah. This poor girl's going through it. So am I. I need some Mucinex. Hold on. My nose is stuffed up. Is there a way for me to turn this down?
You turn it up.
Just down. Because I don't want to. I think having the bag in front of it kind of doesn't help either. But
No, yeah, the bag is probably.
blocking it from moving. Jesus Christ, Caramel. I'm allowed to get up and like get water, Mama. Oof, oof. There's your toy. All right. All right. Sorry, I had to get some water and I get to get my Mucinex. I'm all like stuffed up and shit. So get that together. Bam. All right. There's a lot going on here. So, baby girl daddy, her stepdaddy died. The not the step. He's not the stepdad. He's not the dad. He's the dad that stepped up for real. Because apparently she looked weird and she got all these powers and shit. Touching up. Swallow wrong. Yeah. She was able to get his body to start breathing again, which is kind of crazy. Oh my god. I'm dying. Oh my god. Excuse me. I am developing pollen allergies now. So depressing because, I've been living on this planet for 38 years and never had to deal with pollen allergies, and now I'm all fucked up. All right, so chapter 2. I'm going to bring you a little bit closer because why not? Okay, so just by looking at me, everyone can see that I am a child of rape. Woo. Damn, starting off strong. Okay, chapter 2, Papa. Just by looking at me, everyone can see that I am a child of rape. But when Papa first saw me, he looked right past this. He's the only person that he's the only person other than my mother who I can say loved me at first sight. Yeah, Jesus, yeah. I'm sorry, if you just popped up into this, that came out of nowhere. Shit got real. That's a great opening. I mean, not a great opening line, but it does definitely pulls you in. So he's the only person other than my mother who I can say loved me at first sight. That was part of why I found it so hard to let him go when he died. I was the one who chose my papa for my mother. I was 6 years old. My mother and I had recently arrived in Jawir. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. Before that, we were desert nomads. One day, as we'd roamed the desert, she stopped, as if hearing another voice. She was often strange like that, seeming to converse with someone other than me. Then she said, "It's time, ooh, excuse me, it's time for you to go to school." I was far too young to understand her real reasons. I was quite happy in the desert. But after we arrived in the town of Jawir, the market quickly became my playground. Those first few days, to make some fast money, my mother sold most of the cactus candy she had. Cactus candy was more valuable than currency in Jawir. It was a delicious delicacy. My mother had taught herself how to cultivate it. She must always have had the intention of returning to civilization. Over the weeks, she planted the cactus cutlets she'd kept and set up a booth. I helped out the best I could. I carried and arranged things and called over customers. In turn, she allowed me an hour of free time each day to roam. In the desert, I used to venture over a mile away from my mother on clear days. I never got lost. So the market was small to me. Nonetheless, there was much to see, and the potential of trouble was around every corner. I was a happy child. People sucked their teeth, grumbled, and shifted their eyes when I passed. But I didn't care. There was chickens and pet foxes to chase, other children to glare back at, arguments to watch. The sand on the ground was sometimes damp with spilled camel milk. At other times, it was oily and fragrant from overflowing oil bottles mixed with incense ash and often stuck to camel, cow, or fox dung. Nice. Well, you got to make that shit smell nice. The sand here was so affected, whereas back in the desert, the sand was untouched. We'd been in Jawir almost only a few months when I found Papa. That fateful day was hot and sunny. When I left my mother, I took a cup of water with me. My first impulse was to go to the strangest structure in Jawir, the house of Usugbu. No, Usugbo. Yeah, Osugbo. Something always drew me to this large, square shaped building, decorated with odd shapes and symbols. It was Jawir's tallest building and the only one made entirely of stone. One day I'll go in there, I said as I stood staring at it. But not today. I know that's right. Like, that shit's creepy. I'm gonna go in there eventually, though. I ventured further from the market into an area that I hadn't explored. An electronics shop was selling ugly refurbished computers. There were small black and gray things with exposed motherboards and cracked cases. I wondered if they felt as good or as felt as ugly as they looked. I'd never touched a computer. I reached out to touch one. "Ta!" the owner said from behind his counter. "Don't touch." I sipped my water and moved on. My legs eventually brought me to a cave full of fire and noise. The white adobe building was open at the front. The room inside was dark with the occasional blast of fiery light. Hot heat hotter than the breeze wafted out, like the breath out of a monster's open mouth. On the front of the building, the large sign read, Ugu. Oh, God. God. Okay. Ogundimu Blacksmithing. White ants never devour bronze. Worms do not eat iron. Okay. Dung is actually not an uncommon note for fragrance oils. Are you serious? They use dung in fragrance oils? That's what Phil is saying. I don't know if that's what Phil is saying, but that's interesting. Oh shit, they really do use shit in fragrance oil. Is it like to test this? Is it like to test how strong the fragrance is? For earthy notes. Oh. So they use poop. I got, you know, okay. And because it lingered. Damn. All right. Well, you know what? Duly noted. That's crazy because I personally like earthy fragrances. I use those a lot, like musky fragrances. So that's interesting. Okay, that's kind of scary. Oh my god, that's kind of scary. Hold on. Duty notes. Yeah. Duty noted. That's even better. Hilarious. All right. I squinted, making out a tall, muscle bound man inside. His dark, glistening skin was darkened with soot, like one of the heroes in the great book, I thought. He wore gloves woven from fine threads of metal and black goggles strapped tightly to his face. His nostrils were wide as he pounded on fire with a great hammer. His huge arms flexed at each blow. He could have been the son of Ogun, the goddess of metal. There was such joy in his motions, but he seemed so thirsty, I thought. I imagined his throat burning and full of ash. I still had my cup of water. It was half full. I entered his shop. It was even hotter inside. However, I'd grown up. I'd grown up in the desert. I was used to extreme hot and cold. I cautiously watched the sparks burst from the metal he pounded. Then, as respectfully as I could, I said, Olga, I have water for you. My voice startled him. The sight of a lanky little girl who was what people called uwu standing in his shop startled him more. He pushed his goggles up. The area around his eyes where the soot had not fallen was about my mother's dark brown complexion. The white part of his eyes are so white for someone who stares at fire all day, I thought. Child, you shouldn't be in here, he said. I stepped back. His voice was sonorous. What is sonorous? Sonorous. Sonorous. Highlighting it right now.
Imposingly deep and full.
Okay. Is that
Capable of producing a deep or ringing sound.
sonorous? Okay, so it's sonorous and it's in dark. Was
Do I have the sound off? I do.
Sonorous.
Oh, so
Sonorous.
I said it right the first time.
Yeah.
Sonorous, and it's uh of a. Where's the definition?
Imposingly deep and full.
Imposingly deep and full. Sonorous. Oh, well, thanks. All right. So, child, you shouldn't be in here, he said. I stepped back. His voice was sonorous, full. This man could speak in the desert, and animals from miles away would hear him. It's not so hot, I said. I held up the water. Here. I stepped closer, very conscious of what I was. I was wearing the green dress my mother had sewn for me. The material was light, but it covered every inch of me, all the way down to my ankles and wrists. Damn, so her mother's like trying to like Phil says like my voice on the YouTube mic. Thank you, Phil. I was hoping. I don't think my voice is sonorous at all, but you know, we can pretend together like it is. All right. So yeah, her mother has made her this green dress that like tries to cover as much of her skin as possible. I guess because her skin is like really striking in comparison to everybody else's. Mm. Since this is so big, I'll bring this down here. Bam. There you go. Now everybody knows what we're reading. I'll put it in the center. Why not? She'd have made me wear a veil over my face, but she didn't have the heart. Damn, that's how you know that girl's like so different. Mom wanted to cover her face. What is it? Putting her in a whole ass fucking beekeeper suit? It was odd. Most people shunned me because I was Iwu, but sometimes women crowded around me. But her skin, they would say to each other, never directly to me. It's so smooth and delicate. It looks like the camel's milk. Damn, why is the camel's milk that color? That's kind of weird. And her hair is oddly bushy, like a cloud of dry grass. Her eyes are like a desert cat's. Annie makes strange beauty from ugliness. She might be beautiful by the time she goes through her 11th rite. What's the point of her going through it? No one will marry her. Then laughter. Damn, these catty bitches is rude. That's some disrespectful shit to say to a whole ass fucking child. This girl is 6. She's 6 years old. That's terrible. Hey, Bukowski, I didn't know you were here. Yes, very rude. Very disrespectful. Mm, okay, let's see. In the market, men had tried to grab me, but I was always. Jesus Christ. In the market, no, you're fine. We're just starting this book. Um, in the market, men had tried to grab me, but I was always quicker. And I knew how to scratch. Holy shit. So when you don't have these rude ass fucking ladies all up on your ass and shit, you got these motherfuckers who are also. Sorry, I'm trying to like make this a little bit more conducive. You also have these motherfuckers trying to snatch this baby up. That's insane. These motherfuckers is crazy, yo. That's why I work. You snatching up babies because she looks different? Mm. All right. That's crazy. Mm. I'd learned from the desert cats. Smart. All this confused my 6-year-old mind. Now, as I stood before the blacksmith, I feared that he might find my ugly features strangely delightful too. I held the cup up to him. He took it and drank long and deep, pulling in every drop. I was tall for my age, but he was tall for his. I had to tilt my head back to see the smile on his face. He let out a great sigh of relief and handed the cup back to me. Good water, he said. He went back to his anvil. You're too tall and far too bold to be a water sprite. I smiled and said, my name is Onyesonu Ubad. What's yours, Uga? Or not Uga. Oga? Oge? I don't know. Oge, Oga. It's African. Fadil Ugundimu. Fadil Ugundimu, he said. He looked at his gloved hands. I would shake your hand on Yesunu, but my gloves are hot. That's okay, Oga. I think it's Oga. We'll go with Oga, and I'll correct myself later if somebody else give me if anybody can provide the phonetic way of pronouncing that. Let me know. Oh shit. Oh, that's why. My phone's almost dying because the asshole son unplugged everything. Jesus Christ. Thanks, Marcel. You're a real peach. Eesh, 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 eesh. Okay. Bam. Yes, your nephew. Your nephew. Your jerky ass nephew. He's a real fucking sweetheart. You know. Yeah, your nephew keep breaking my shit. Keeps breaking my shit. Okay. And look at him. If you want to see him, that's what he's doing right now, though. Okay. You know what I'm saying? For the YouTubers, this is what your nephew is. This is how your nephew is chilling right now. After breaking and destroying all of my shit. So, real peach, real sweetheart, real lover boy. Yeah. Forever will appreciate him and his shenanigans. You didn't. Mm-hmm. Little bastard. Everybody pro this nigga. Y'all gonna have to fucking save him because if he breaks his laptop, then we're not gonna be able to do book club for a minute. So, yeah, it's all fun and games. The most innocentest is not. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Phone's charging. I'm gonna need to charge the laptop at some point in time. I don't know what I'm gonna sacrifice to do that. Probably the mic. I'm probably gonna sacrifice the microphone to charge the phone or the laptop. Yeah. Okay. Continuing on. Where are we? Okay, so he gives her name. He says that he would shake her hand, but his glove is hot, and all that other stuff. She says that's okay. You're a blacksmith. He nodded, as was my father and his father and his father, and so on. Remembered that it was getting. Oh, hold on. And so on. There we go. My mother and I just got here some months ago, I blurted. I remembered that it was growing late. Oh, I have to go. Oh, go, Oga. I feel like it's Oga. Oga Agon Dimu. Okay. Thanks for the water, he said. You were right. I was thirsty. After that, I visited him often. He became my best and only friend. If my mother had known I was hanging around a strange man, she'd have beaten me and taken away my free time for weeks. The blacksmith's apprentice, a man named Jai, hated me, and he let me know this by sneering with disgust whenever he saw me, as if I were a diseased wild animal. Ignore Ji, the blacksmith said. He's good with metal, but he lacks imagination. Forgive him. He is primitive. Do you think I look evil? I asked. You're lovely, he said, smiling. The way a child is conceived is not a child's fault or burden. I didn't know what conceived meant, and I didn't ask. He'd call me lovely, and I didn't want him to take his words back. Thankfully, Ji usually came late, during the cooler part of the day. Soon, I was telling the blacksmith about my life in the desert. I was too young to know to keep such sensitive things to myself. I didn't understand that my past, my very existence, was sensitive. In turn, he taught me a few things about metal, like which types yielded to heat most easily and which didn't. What was your wife like? I asked one day. I was really just running my mouth. I was more interested in the small stack of bread he'd brought for me, or he'd bought me. Najiri, she was black skinned, he said. He put both his big hands around his thighs, and had very strong legs. Okay, and had very strong legs. She was a camel racer. Oh shit! So he like him strong and you know adventurous. A camel racer? That's pretty dope. I swallowed the bread I was chewing. Really? I exclaimed. People said that her legs were what kept her on the camels, but I know better. She had some sort of gift, too. Gift of what? I asked, leaning forward. Could she walk through walls, fly, eat glass, change into a beetle? The blacksmith laughed. You read a lot, he said. I've read the great book twice, I bragged. Impressive, he said. Well, my Jujiri could speak to camels. Camel talking is a man's job, so she chose camel racing instead. And Najiri didn't just race, she won races. We met when we were teenagers. We married when we were 20. What did her voice sound like? I asked. Oh, her voice was aggravating and beautiful, he said. I frowned at this, confused. She was very loud, he explained, taking a piece of my bread. She laughed a lot when she was happy and shouted a lot when she was irritated, you see. I nodded. For a while we were happy, he said. He paused. I waited for him to continue. I knew this was the bad part. When he just stared at his piece of bread, I said, well, what happened next? Did she do you wrong? He chuckled, and I was glad, though I had asked the question in seriousness. No, no, he said. The day she raced the fastest race of her life, something terrible happened. You should have seen it, Onyesunwu. It was the finals of the Rainfest races. She'd won the race before, but this day she was about to break the record for fastest half mile ever. He paused. I was at the finish line. We all were. The ground was still slick with the heavy rain the night before. They should have given the race another day. Her camel approached, running its knock-kneed gait. It was running faster than any camel ever has. He closed his eyes. It took a wrong step and tumbled. His voice broke. In the end, Najiri's strong legs were her downfall. They held on, and when the camel fell, she was crushed under its weight. I gasped, clapping my hands around my mouth. Damn. Had she stumbled off, she'd have lived. We'd only been married for 3 months. He sighed. The camel she was racing refused to leave her side. It went whenever her body went. Days after she was cremated, the camel died of grief. Camels all over were spitting and groaning for weeks. He put his gloves back on and went back to his anvil. The conversation was over. Months passed. I continued visiting him every few days. I knew I was pushing my luck with my mother, but I believed it was a risk worth taking. One day, he asked me how my day was going. Okay, I replied. A lady was talking about you yesterday. She said that you were the greatest blacksmith ever, and that somebody named Osugbo pays you well. Does he own the house of Osugbo? I've always wanted to go in there. Osugbo isn't a man, he replied as he examined the piece of wrought iron. It's the group of Jarir elders who keep order, our government heads. Oh, I said, not knowing or caring what the word government meant. Smart, because, fuck the government. How's your mother? He asked. Fine. I want to meet her. I held my breath, frowning. If she found out about him, I'd get the worst beating of my life, and then I'd lose my only friend. What's he want to meet my mom, meet her for? What's he want to meet my mom for? I wondered, suddenly feeling extremely possessive of my mother. But how could I stop him from meeting her? I bit my lip and very reluctantly said, Fine. To my dismay, he came to our tent that very night. Still, he did look striking in his long white flowing pants and white kaftan or kaftan. He wore a white veil over his head. To wear all white was to present oneself with great humbleness. Usually, women did this. For a man to do it was very special. He knew to approach my mother with care. At first, my mother was afraid and angry with him. When he told her about the friendship he and I had, she slapped my bottom so hard that I ran off and cried for hours. Still, within a month, Papa and my mother were married. Nigga work quick. He's like, that's my daughter, and you're my wife. I'm just giving you, I came here already wearing the colors for being married, so don't even worry about it. You know what I'm saying? Kaftan. All right, Phil says a kaftan is kind of like a muumuu for a man. Yeah, yeah. The day after the wedding, my mother and I moved into his house. It should have all been perfect after that. It was good for 5 years. Then the weirdness started. Shit, what's the weirdness? All right, how are we liking this so far? I'm pretty intrigued. I like the writing, so like writing style is pretty fun. Papa seems like a really cool guy. I really am sad about him losing his wife. He basically watched his wife get crushed by a fucking camel. That is some traumatizing shit to witness. Oh my god. That is some traumatizing shit to witness. Real talk, real talk. Mm. All right. Let's see. I think we can get to like chapter 5. I think we can get to chapter 5. I think I'll stop at chapter 5. What say you? You all. Let me know. Chapters 1 through 5. I think that works. Mm. Chapter 3. Interrupted conversation. Papa anchored my mother and me to Jarir. But even if he'd lived, I'd still have ended up here. I was never meant. Come here. Yes, because you keep moving. And I need you to chill out. Okay? Not you smiling. This nigga smiling. Okay. Y'all's nephew. It's a big ass baby. Okay. Yes. Mm, mm, okay. Sleep, Papa. Sleep. I got you. Okay. Try not to shake the cameras. All right, here we go. Nope, you're in it now because you keep moving. You're fine. No, how you want to lay? Because you're being a big baby right now. Okay. 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 I was never meant to stay in Jawir. I was too volatile, and there were other things driving me. I was trouble from the moment I was conceived. I was a black stain, a poison. I realized this when I was 11 years old, when something strange happened to me. The incident forced my mother to finally tell me my ugly story. It was evening, and a thunderstorm was fast approaching. I was first standing in the back doorway, watching it come, when right before my eyes, a large eagle landed on a sparrow in my mother's garden. The eagle slammed the sparrow to the ground and flew off with it. Three brown, bloody feathers fell from the sparrow's body. They landed between my mother's tomatoes. Thunder rumbled as I went and picked up one of the feathers. I rubbed the blood between my fingers. I don't know why I did this. It was tacky. Or it was sticky, not tacky. Oops. Probably tacky too. You know, that if you ever like played with dry blood, it gets really coagulates really quickly. Um, it was sticky, and its coppery smell was pungent in my nostrils. I like that word, pungent. That's a good word. As if I were awash in it. Nope. Okay. There you go. Just sleep, Papa. Mhm. Pungent like the dung notes in the fragrance of oil. Oh, God. I did not need to know that. I didn't know. I didn't need to know that I was like very attracted to feces scent, but whatever. Thanks, Phil. Mm. So yeah, it's pungent. It's a good word. Um, I tilted my head for some reason, listening, sensing. Something's happening here, I thought. The sky darkened. The wind picked up. It brought another smell, a strange smell that I have since come to recognize but will never be able to describe. The more I inhaled that smell, the more something began to happen in my head. I considered running inside, but I didn't want to bring whatever it was into the house. Then I couldn't move even if I wanted to. There was a humming, then pain. I shut my eyes. There were doors in my head, doors made of steel and wood and stone. The pain was from those doors cracking open. Hot air wafted through them. My body felt odd, like every move I made would break something. Ooh, this is heavy. I fell to my knees and retched. Every muscle in my body seized up, and then I stopped existing. I recall nothing, not even darkness. It was awful. Next thing I knew, I was stuck high in the giant Iroquois tree grew grew in the center of town. I was naked. It was raining. Humiliation and confusion were the staples of my childhood. Is it a wonder that anger was never far behind? I held my breath to keep from sobbing with shock and fear. The large branch I grasped was slippery, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just spontaneously died and returned to life. But that didn't matter at the moment. How was I going to get down? You have to jump. someone yelled. My father and some boy holding a basket over his head were below. I gnashed my teeth and grasped the branch more tightly, angry and embarrassed. Papa held his arms out. Jump! He shouted. I hesitated, thinking, I don't want to die again. I whimpered. In order to avoid my subsequent thoughts, I jumped. Papa and I tumbled to the wet Iroquois fruit covered ground. I scrambled up and pressed myself to him, trying to hide as he took off his shirt. I quickly slipped it on. The smell of the mashed fruits was strong and bitter in the rain. We'd need a good bath to get the smell and purple stains off of our skin. Papa's clothes were ruined. I looked around, and the boy was gone. Ooh. So she just like saw this eagle take a sparrow during this rain coming through. Some weird shit happens. She gets jolted into some type of like different dimension with doors, and then she wakes up and she's in this fucking tree. And this is after she touched the blood. Maybe she like experienced the death of the sparrow. Maybe that's what happened, right? Like the blood of the sparrow and its death is what like transported her. Maybe that's what happened. Like going into puberty in her spiritual state. Yeah, yeah, right. Ah, I would hate to have to deal with some shit like that. Huh. Mm. Papa took my hand, and we walked home in shocked silence. As we trudged through the rain, I struggled to keep my eyes open. I was so exhausted. It seemed to take forever to get home. Did I come that far? I wondered. What? How? Once home, I stopped Papa at the door. What happened? I finally asked. Papa, you want to be cuddled, but you're also complaining. What are we doing here? Okay? Okay. I'm about to move you off me if you're gonna still just be growling and shit. Thank you. You talking about this book right here? We're reading it right now. And so far it is a really decent read. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. Stephen Buck. Okay. So, where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? So she asked him what happened. How did you know where to find me? He ignores her and says, let's get you dried off for now, he soothingly said. When we opened the door, my mother came running. I insisted I was fine, but I wasn't. I was falling into oblivion again. I headed to my room. Let her go, Papa told my mother. I crawled into bed, and this time, sorry, tumbled into a normal deep sleep. Get up, my mother said in her whispery voice. Hours had passed. My eyes were gummy and my body ached. Slowly I sat up, rubbing my face. My mother scooted her chair closer to my bed. I don't know what happened to you, she said, but she looked away from me. Even then, I wondered if was telling the truth. I don't either, Mama, I said. I sighed, massaging my sore arms and legs. I could still smell the Iroko tree's fruit on my skin. She took my hands. This is the only time I will tell you this. She hesitated and shook her head, saying to herself, oh, Anani, she's only 11 years old. Then she cocked her head and had that look I knew so well. that listening look. She sucked her teeth and nodded. Mama, what? The sun was high in the sky. She said in her soft voice, it lit everything. That's when they came. When most of the women, those of us older than 15, were holding conversation in the desert. I was about 20 years old. The Nuru militants waited for the retreat when the Okiki women walked into the desert and stayed for 7 days to give respect to goddess Anani, or Ani. Okiki means the created ones. The Okiki people have skin color of the night because they were created before the day. They were the first. Later, after much had happened, the Nuru arrived. They came from the stars, and that's why their skin is the color of the sun. These names must have been agreed upon during peaceful times, for it was well known that the Okiki were born to be slaves of the Nuru. Long ago, during the old Africa era, they had done something terrible, causing Ani to put this duty on their backs. Oh, have you ever read Yes, I have definitely read The Children of Blood and Bones. Amazing book too. That's also a really dope read. I enjoyed that one a lot. I read that before I did the book, started the book club, so we haven't really shared that yet. Mm-mm-mm. Let's see, where did I leave off? So long ago, during the old Africa era, they had done something terrible, causing Ani to put this duty on their backs. Bless you, baby. No, you're fine. It is written in the great book. Though Najiba lived with her husband in the small Okiki village where no one was a slave, she knew her place. Like everyone else in her village, if she lived in the bless you, baby. If she lived in the Seven Rivers Kingdom, only 15 miles east, where there was more to be had, she would spend her life serving the Nuru. Okay, Papa. Okay. Okay. Okay, big baby. Go on, you big baby. Go over there. You don't have to. You don't have to sit that far though. You can just canoodle over here, Pop Up. Here. Yes, because I know you want to be touching me. There you go. See? Isn't that better? Y'all's nephew doing the absolute most. What? What? We're reading, Papa. We're reading. Okay. Yeah, take your nap. Take a nap. Take a nap, Baba. Just take a nap. Go to sleep. Stop fighting. Just go to sleep. Go to leapy. Come on. Yeah, take your nap. It's okay. I'm right here. All right. God. This guy. All right. Where did I leave off? Most abided by the old saying, a snake is foolish if it dreams of being a lizard. If it dreams of being a lizard. Hmm. But one day, 30 years earlier, a group of Okiki men and women in the city of Zen rejected it. They'd had enough. They rose up rioting and demanding and refusing. Their passion spread to neighboring Seven Rivers towns and villages. These Okiki paid dearly for having ambition. Everyone did, as is always the case with genocide. On and off, this had been happening since. Damn, wrong direction. Those rebelling Akikis that weren't exterminated were driven east. Najiba had her head to the sand, her eyes closed, her attention turned inward. She smiled as she held conversation with Ani. When she was 10, she joined the journeys along the salt roads with her father and brothers to trade salt. She smiled wider and rubbed her head further into the sand, ignoring the sound of the women around her praying. Najiba was telling Ani how she and her husband had sat outside the night before and seen 5 stars fall from the sky. It's said that the number of stars a wife and husband see fall will be the number of children they will have. She laughed to herself. She hadn't a clue that this would be the last time she'd laugh for a long time. We don't have much, but my father would be proud, Najiba said in her rich voice. We have a horse that Sand is always getting into. We have a house that Sand is always getting into. Our computer was old when we bought it. Our capture station collects only half as much water from the clouds as it should. The killing has begun again and is not far. We have no children yet, but we're happy. And thank you. The purr of scooters. She looked up. There was a parade of them, each with an orange flag on the back seat. There must have been at least 40. Najiba and her group were miles from the village. They'd left 4 days ago, drinking water and eating only bread. So not only were they alone, they were weak. She knew exactly who these people were. How did they know where to find us? She wondered. The desert had erased their trail days ago. The hate had finally made it to her home. Her village was a quiet place where the houses were tiny but well built, the market small but well stocked, where marriages were the biggest events that happened. It was a sweet, harmless place, hidden by lazy palm trees. Until now. As the scooters drove circles around the women, Najiba looked back toward her village. She grunted as if punched in the stomach. Black smoke plumed into the sky. The goddess Ani hadn't bothered to tell the women that they were dying. That as they had their heads in the sand, their children, husbands, relatives at home were being murdered, their homes being burned. Yikes. On each scooter rode a man, and on several a woman accompanied the man. They wore orange veils over their sunny faces. Their expensive military attire, sand colored pants and tops, and leather boots were probably treated with weather gel to keep them cool in the sun. Yeah. As Najiba stood staring at the smoke, her mouth agape, she remembered how her husband had always wanted weather gel for his clothes when he worked up in the palm trees. He could never afford it. He will never afford it, she thought. The Okiki women screamed and ran in all directions. Najiba screamed so loudly that all the air left her lungs, and she felt something give from deep in her throat. She'd later realized that this was her voice leaving her forever. She ran in the opposite direction from her village, but the Nurus made a wide circle around them, herding them back together like wild camels. As the Okiki women cowered, their long periwinkle garments fluttered in the breeze. The Nuru men got off of their scooters, the Nuru women behind them. They closed in, and that was when the raping began. All the Okiki women, young, prime, and old, were raped repeatedly. Those men didn't tire. It was as if they were bewitched. When they spent themselves inside one woman, they had more to give to the next and the next. They sang as they raped. The newer women who'd come along laughed, pointed, and sang too. That's some evil shit. Some evil fucking shit right there, yo. Evil fucking shit. Oh, somebody said that the author is not the nicest to her fans. No, speaking from personal experience. Damn, that's why you can't. They say you never meet your heroes. You know what I'm saying? You never meet your fucking heroes. Um. Oh God, that was terrible. Whew. They sang in the common language of Sipo so that the Okiki women could understand. The blood of the Okiki runs like water. We take their goods, and shame their forefathers. We beat them with a heavy hand, then take what they call their land. The power of Ani belongs to us, and so we will slay you to dust. Ugly, filthy slaves. Anani has finally killed you. Najiba had it the worst. The other Okiki women were beaten and raped, and then their abusers moved on, giving them a moment to breathe. The man who took Najiba, however, stayed with her, and there was no newer woman to laugh and observe. He was tall and strong like a bull, an animal. His veil covered his face, but not his rage. He grabbed Najiba by her thick black braids and dragged her several feet from the others. She tried to get up and run, but he was on her too fast. Baby, are you okay?
Huh?
Okay, you're checked out.
I'm checked out.
Okay, good, 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 good. She stopped fighting when she saw his knife, shiny and sharp. He laughed, using it to cut her clothing open. She stared into his eyes, the only part of his face she could see. They were gold and brown and angry, the corners twitching. As he held her down, he brought a coin shaped device from his pocket and set it beside her. It was some sort of device people use to keep the time, the weather, to carry a file of the great book. This one had a recording mechanism. Its tiny black camera eye rose up, making it making a clicking and whirring sound as it began to record. He started singing, stabbing his knife into the sand next to Najiba's head. Two large black beetles landed on the handle. Oop, there's four of y'all here. Trigger warning, because this is getting graphic. Oh yeah, all right. We gotta sacrifice the mic for a little bit. Oop, oop, oop. Let me see. Where is the charger? Oop, goddamn. Charger right here. Whoop. Yep, we gotta sacrifice the testing. All right, great. Ooh. I had to sacrifice the mic on YouTube so I can charge my laptop a little bit. Hopefully, or the quality doesn't go down too much. All right. We pulled her legs apart. Mm,
I'm okay. Go ahead.
you sure? Okay. He pulled her legs apart and kept singing as he bore into her. Between songs, he spoke Nuru words that she couldn't understand. Heated, biting, snarling words. After a while, Anger boiled up in Najib, and she spat and snarled right back at him. He grabbed her neck and his knife and pointed its tip at her left eye until she grew still again. Then he sang louder and bore more deeply. At some point, Najiba went cold, then numb, then quiet. She became two eyes watching it happen. She'd always been like this, to an extent. As a child, she'd fallen from a tree and broken her arm. Though in pain, she'd calmly gotten up, left her panicking friends, walked home and found her mother, who took her to a friend who knew how to set broken bones. Najiba's peculiar behavior used to anger her father whenever she misbehaved and was beaten. No matter how hard the slap, she wouldn't make a sound. Fair enough, Phil. See you later, yo. This child's, Lucy, has no respect. Her father always told her mother, but when he was in his usual good mood, her father praised this part of Najiba, often saying, "Let your Lucy travel, daughter. See what you can see." Now, her Lucy, the ethereal part of her, with the ability to silence pain and observe, came forward. Her mind recorded events like the man's device, every detail. Her mind observed that when the man sang, despite the song's words, his voice was beautiful. It lasted about 2 hours. Though Najiba, though to Najiba it felt like a day and a half. Her memory, she saw the sun move across the sky, set, and come up again. It was a long time. That's what matters. The Nurus sang, laughed, assaulted, and a few times killed. Then they left. Najiba lay there on her back, her garment open, her pummeled and bruised midsection exposed to the sun. She listened for breathing, moaning, crying, and for a while she heard nothing. She was glad. Then she heard Amaka. "Stand up!" Amaka was 20 years Najiba's senior. She's 40 years old here. She was strong and often a voice for the women of her village. "Stand up, all of you," Amaka said, stumbling. "Get up!" She went to each woman and kicked her. "We're dead, but we won't die out here. Those of us still breathing." Najiba least listened without moving as Amaka kicked at thighs and pulled at women's arms. She hoped she could play dead well enough to trick Amaka. She knew her husband was dead, and even if he weren't, he'd never touch her again. The Nuru men and their women had done what they did for more than torture and shame. They wanted to create Iwu children. Such children are not children of the forbidden love between a such children are not children of the forbidden love between Nuru and Okiki, nor are they Noah's. Okiki's born without color. Noah's. They call the whiter children. The Iwu are children of violence, and Okiki women will never kill a child kindled inside of her. She would go against even her husband to keep a child in her womb alive. However, custom dictates that a child is the child of her father. These Nuru had planted poison. An Okiki woman who gave birth to an Iwu child was bound to the Nuru through her child. The Nuru sought to destroy Okiki families at the very root. Najiba didn't care about this cruel plan of theirs. There was no child kindled in her. All she wanted was to. When Omaka got to her, it took only one kick to get Najiba coughing. You don't fool me, Najiba. Get up, Omaka. The left side of Amaka's face was blue purple. Her left eye was swollen shut. Why? Najiba said in her new voiceless voice. Because that's what we do. Amaka held out a hand. Najiba turned away. Let me finish dying. I have no children. It's Najiba felt the weight in her womb. If she stood up, all the excrement that had been pumped into would would splash out. She gagged at the thought and then turned her head to the side and dry heaved. When her stomach settled, Amaka was still there. She sat on the ground next to Najiba. It was red with blood. She tried to pull Najiba up. The pain in Najiba's abdomen flared, but she kept her body limp and heavy. Eventually frustrated, Amaka dropped Najiba's arm, spat again, and moved on. The women who chose to live dragged themselves up and walked back to the village. Najiba closed her eyes, feeling blood seep from a cut on her forehead. Soon, there was silence again. Leaving this body will be easy, she thought. She'd always loved traveling. She lay there until her face burned in the sun. Death was coming slower than she wanted. She opened her eyes and sat up. It took a minute for her eyes to adjust to the bright sun. When they did, she saw bodies and pools of blood, the sand drinking it up as if the women had been sacrificed to the. She slowly stood, went over to her satchel. Leave me, Tika said minutes later as Najiba shook her head, or shook her. Tika was the only one alive among the five bodies. Najiba sat down hard beside her. She rubbed her aching scalp where her assailant had pulled her hair so brutally. She looked at Tika. Her cornrows were encrusted with sand, and her face grimaced with each breath. Slowly, Najiba stood and tried to pull Tika up. Leave me, Tika repeated, looking at her angrily. And so Najiba did. She trudged back to the village, only going in that direction out of habit. She begged Ani to send something along to kill her, like a lion or more Nurus. But it was not Annie's will. Her village was burning. Homes smoldered. Gardens were destroyed. Scooters were aflame. There were bodies in the street. Many were burned unrecognizable. During these kinds of raids, the Nuru soldiers took the strongest Okiki men, tied them out, tied them up, doused them with kerosene. Najiba saw no Nuru men or women, dead or alive. The village had been an easy conquest, off guard, vulnerable, unaware, stupid. Women moaned in the street. Men wept before their homes. Children walked about confused. The heat was stifling, radiating from the sun and the burning houses and scooters and people. By sundown, there would be a fresh exodus east. Najiba softly said her husband's name when she got to their house. Then she wet herself. The urine burned and ran down her bruised legs. Half of the house was on fire. Their garden was destroyed. Their scooter was on fire. But there was Idris, her husband, sitting on the ground with his head in his hands. Idris Najiba softly said again. I'm seeing a ghost, she thought. The wind will blow, and he will blow away with it. There was no blood running down his face, and though the knees of his blue pants were crusted with sand, and the armpits of his blue kaftan were dark with sweat, he was intact. This was him, not his ghost. Najiba wanted to say Ani is merciful, but the goddess wasn't, not at all. For though her husband was spared, Ani had killed Najiba and left her still alive. When he saw her, Idris shouted with joy. They ran into each other's arms and held each other for several minutes. Idris smelled of sweat, anxiety, fear, and doom. She dared not wonder what I am a man, but all I could do was hide like a child. He said into her ear. He kissed her neck. She closed her eyes, wishing Anani would strike her dead right there. It was what was best. Then he held her back. Najiba knew. Wife, he said, looking down at her open garments. Her pubic hair was exposed, her, her bruised thighs, her belly. Cover yourself, he said, pulling the bottom of her dress close. His eyes grew moist. Cover yourself, oh. The look on his face grew more pained, and he held his side. He stepped back. He looked at Najiba again, squinting, and then he shook his head, as if trying to ward something off. No. Najiba just stood there as her husband stepped away, his hands held before him. No, he repeated. His eyes spilled tears, but his face hardened. His face was blank. He watched Najiba go into the burning house. Inside, Najiba ignored the heat and the sounds of the house cracking, popping, and dying. She methodically gathered a few things, some money she'd hidden away, a pot, their capture station, a hand came her sister had given her years ago, a photo of her husband smiling, and a cloth sack of salt. Salt was good to have when going into the desert. The only picture she had of her deceased parents was burning. Najiba wasn't going to live for much longer. To herself, she became the Alusi that her father said always lived in her, the desert spirit who lived to wander off to distant places. Once her village, Once in her village, she had hoped her husband was alive. When she found him, she'd hoped he would be different. But she was an Okiki. What business did she have being hopeful? She could survive in the desert. Her yearly retreats with women and her salt road journeys with her father and brothers had taught her how. She knew how to use her capture station to pull condensation from the sky for drinking water. She knew how to trap foxes and hares. She knew where to find tortoise, lizard, and snake eggs. She knew which cacti were edible. And because she was already dead, right? Yeah, this chapter is long as fuck, it feels like. Najiba walked and walked, searching for a place to let her body die. A week from now, she thought, as she set up camp. Tomorrow, she thought, as she trudged along. When she first realized she was pregnant, death was no longer an option. But in her mind, she remained an elusive, controlling and maintaining her body as one controls a computer. Yeah, it's heavy as fuck. Yeah, it feels like a chapter that's going on for 30 years. My God, I think I'll wrap it up after this chapter for sure. 'Cause this is painful. Mm. She traveled east, away from the Nuru city, toward the wastelands where the Okiki lived in exile. At night, when she lay down in her tent, she'd hear Nuru women, or yeah, Nuru women's voices laughing and singing outside. She'd voicelessly scream back at them to come in and finish her off if they could. I'll tear off your breasts, she said. I'll drink your blood, and it'll nourish the one who grows inside me. When she slept, she often saw her husband Idris standing there, disturbed and sad. Idris had loved her dearly for 2 years. She would wake up and have to look at his picture to remember him as he was before. After a while, this didn't help. For months, Najiba dwelled in limbo as her belly grew and the day of birth approached. When she had nothing else to do, she sat and stared into space. Sometimes she played her Dark Shadows hand game, winning it over and over, a high score each time, or higher score each time. Sometimes she talked to the child inside her. The human world is harsh, but the desert is lovely. Elusive, Umu, all spirits live here in peace. When you come, you'll love it here too. She was a nomad, traveling during the cool parts of the day, avoiding towns and villages. When she was about 4 months along, a scorpion stung the heel of her foot. Damn, now we got scorpions? Fuck me. When she was about 4 months along, a scorpion stung the heel of her foot while she was walking. Her foot painfully swelled up, and she had to lie down for 2 days. But she eventually got up and moved on. When she finally went, when she finally went into labor, she was forced to admit that what she'd been telling herself all these months was wrong. She wasn't Anna Lucy. She wasn't Anna Lucy about to give birth to Anna Lucy. She was a woman in the desert, all alone, terrified. She laid in her tent, thin mat, in her desert-beaten night, the only item she had that fit her swelling body. The body that she had finally admitted to being hers was conspiring against her, violently pushing and pulling. It was like battling an invisible monster. She cursed and screamed and strained. If I die out here, the child will die alone, she desperately thought. No child deserves to die alone. She held on. She focused. After an hour of terrible contractions, After an hour of terrible contractions, her Lucy moved forward. She relaxed, retreated, and watched, letting her body do what it was made to do. Hours later, the child emerged. Najiba could have sworn the child was shrieking even before it came out. So angry. From the moment the child was born, Najiba understood that it would dislike surprises, have very little patience. She cut the cord, tied the belly button, pressed the child to her breast. A girl. Najiba cradled her and watched in her as she herself bled and bled. Images of lying in the sand with semen seeping out of her kept trying to creep into her mind. Now that she was human again, she was no longer immune to these memories. She forced the memories away and forced on the angry child and focused on the angry child in her arms. An hour later, as she sat weakly wondering if she would bleed to death, the blood slowed. Holding the child, she slept. When she woke, she could stand. She felt as if her insides would fall out from between her legs, but standing wasn't impossible. She took a close look at her child. Had Najiba's thick lips and high cheekbones, but she had a narrow, straight nose of someone Najiba didn't know. And her eyes, oh her eyes, they were that gold brown. His eyes. It was as if he were peering at her through the child. The baby's skin and hair, the baby's skin and hair color, odd shade of the sand. Najiba knew of this phenomenon, particular, or particular only to children through violence. Was it even spoken in the great book? She wasn't sure. She hadn't read much of it. The Nuru people had yellow brown skin, narrow noses, and lips, and brown or black hair that was like a well groomed horse's mane. The Okiki had dark brown skin, wide nostrils, thick lips, thick black hair, like the hide of a sheep. No one knows why Iwu children always look the way they do. They look neither Okiki nor Nuru, more like desert spirits. It would be months before the trademark freckles showed up on the child's cheeks. Najiba gazed into her child's eyes. Then she pressed her lips to the baby's ears and spoke the child's name. Oh yes, Sunwoo. Najiba said again. It was right. It, she wanted to shout. She wanted to shout the question to the sky. Who fears death? But alas, Najiba had no voice and could only whisper. One day, Onyesunu will speak her name correctly, she thought. Najiba slowly walked over to her and connected its large water bag. She flipped it on. It made a loud whoosh and created the usual sudden coolness. Onyesunu was jarred awake, started crying. Najiba smiled. After washing Onyesunu, she washed herself. Then she drank and ate, nursing Onyesunu with some difficulty. The child didn't quite understand how to latch on. It was time to go. The birth blood would attract wild animals. Over the months, Najiba focused on Onyentu, and doing so forced her to care for herself. But there was more to it. She glows like a star. She is my hope, Najiba, gazing at her child. Onyentu was noisy and fussy while awake, but she slept just as fiercely, giving Najiba plenty of time to get things done and rest herself. These were peaceful days for mother and daughter. When Onyesuru grew sick with fever and none of Najiba's remedies worked, it was time to find a healer. Onyesuru was 4 months old. They had recently passed the Okiki town called Deliza, or Deliza. Yes. And not only that, still loved her despite how she looked. It is very I've having been in a relationship with someone who you know got their child in that way. I noticed that sometimes it is difficult to look at your kid, especially because when their mannerisms or their facial features strike you as foreign, but in a very like a sinister way. Like you don't really know that person. You're raising this kid, and for the most part, 90% of the time, they are you. They're an extension of you until they do that foreign thing that reminds you of the other parent, or the person that fired them. Hmm. This is difficult. It's not an easy thing to do. You know, It's not an easy thing, and it really does create like a tumultuous relationship between mother and child. You know, it's hard to. So yeah, mm. They had to go back. It would be the first time in over a year that Najiba was around other people. The town's market was set on the outskirts of the town. Onyesun fussed and burned against her back. Don't worry, Najiba said as she walked down the sand dune. Najiba worked hard not to jump at every sound or whenever somebody brushed against her arm. Bowed her head, and when anyone greeted her, bowed her head when anyone greeted her. There were pyramids of tomatoes, barrels of dates, piles of used capture stations, bottles of cooking oil, boxes of nails, items of a world had that she and her daughter didn't belong to. She still had the money she'd taken when she left home, and the currency was the same here. She was afraid to ask for directions, so it took her an hour to find the healer. He was short and smooth skin. Under his small tent were brown, black, yellow, and red vials of liquids and powders, various bound stalks, baskets of leaves. A stick of incense burned, sweetening the air. On her back, on Yesu peeped weakly. Good afternoon, the healer said, bowing to Najiba. My baby is sick, Najiba cautiously said. He scowled. Please speak up. She patted her throat. He nodded, stepping closer. How did you lose your... Not for me, she said. For my child. She unwrapped Onyetsubu, holding her tightly in her arms as the healer stared. Stepped back, and Nujiba almost... His reaction to her daughter was much like her husband's reaction to her. Is she... Yes, Nujiba said. You're nomads? Yes. Alone? Najiba pressed her lips together. He looked behind her and then said, Hurry, let me see her. He inspected Onyetsubu, asking Najiba what she had been eating. For her and her child, for, for she and her child weren't malnourished. So she's doing everything that she can to keep herself and this baby kicking. He handed her a corked vial containing a pink substance. Give her 3 drops every 8 hours. She's strong, but if you don't give this to her, she will die. Najiba uncorked it and sniffed. It smelled sweet. Whatever it was mixed with fresh palm tree sap. The medicine cost a third of the money she had. She gave Onyensu 3 drops. The baby sucked in the liquid and went back. She spent the rest of her money on supplies. The dialect in the village was different. She was still able to communicate in both Sipo and Okiki. As she frantically shopped, she started to accumulate an audience. Only determination kept her from running back into the desert right after buying the medicine. The baby needed bottles and clothes. Najiba needed a compass and map and a new knife to cut meat. After buying a small bag of dates, she turned and found herself facing a wall of people, mostly men, some old, some young, most around the age of her husband. Here she was again. But this time, she was alone, and the men threatening her were Okiki. What is it? She quietly asked. She could feel Onyensu fidgeting at her back. Whose child is that, Mama? A young man of about 18 asked. She felt Onyensu fidget again, and suddenly, with rage. I'm not your mama, Nujiba or snapped. wishing that her voice could function. Is that your child, woman? An old man asked in a voice that sounded as if he hadn't drunk cool water in decades. Yes, mine, no one else's. Can't you speak? A man asked. He looked at the woman next to him. She moves her mouth, but no sound comes out. Ani has taken her filthy tongue. That baby is Nuru, someone said. She's mine, Najiba whispered, as loudly as she could. Her vocal cords were straining, and she could taste blood. Nuru concubine, Tifia, go find your husband. Slave, Uwu carrier. To these people, the murder of Okikis in the West was more story than fact. She had traveled farther than she thought. These people didn't want to know the truth, so they watched as mother and child moved about the market. As they watched, they stopped and talked with friends, speaking ugly words that grew uglier the more they were exchanged. They grew angrier and agitated. They finally accosted Najibi and her Ewud child. They grew bold and self righteous. Finally, they struck. When the first stone hit Najiba's chest, she was too shocked to run. It hurt. It wasn't a warning. When the second hit her thigh, she had flashbacks a year ago, when she died. When instead of stones, a man's body had slammed against her. When the third stone hit her on the cheek, she knew that if she didn't run, her daughter would die. She ran as she ran as she should have run when the Nurus attacked. Stones hit her shoulder blades, neck, and legs. She heard Onyensu screeching and crying. She ran until she burst from the market into the safety of the desert. Only after scaling the third sand dune did she slow down. Damn, these motherfuckers are evil. They probably thought they'd driven her to her death, as if woman and child couldn't survive alone in the desert. Once safely away from Daliza, Najiba unwrapped Unyansu. She gasped and sobbed. There was blood running from just around the child's eyebrow, where a stone had hit her. The baby feebly rubbed at her face, smearing the blood. Onyensu continued to fight as Najiba held her tiny hands back. The wound was shallow. Thank God, Jesus Christ. That night, though Onyensu slept well, medicine having broken medicine having broken her fever, Najiba cried. For 6 years, she raised Onyesu alone in the desert. Hey, what up, Trini? What up, y'all? Welcome. we're reading. I think this is chapter 3 of this book, and it is. Huh. We just read about how. Yeah, we just read about how our protagonist was conceived, and just now her mother, she's been in the desert, and the baby got sick. This, Okiki village for the baby. When she left and was trying to get supplies, the Okiki attacked her because they wanted to pretend like, you know, she's not a victim of genocide, which is fucking insane. So they just chased her out of the village. That's where we are in this. Fucking crazy. Yeah. So for 6 years, she raised Onyesuru alone in the desert. Onyesuru grew into a strong, feisty child. She loved the sand, winds, and desert creatures. Though Najiba could only whisper, she laughed and smiled whenever Onyesuru shouted. When Onyesuru shouted, the words Najiba taught her, Najiba kissed and hugged her. This was how Onyesun learned to, to use her voice without having ever heard one. And a lovely voice Oyesu had. She learned to sing by listening to the wind. She often stood facing the wide open land and sang to it. Sometimes, if she sang in the evening, she attracted owls from far away. They'd land in the sand to listen. This was the first sign Najiba had that her daughter was not just Iru, but very special, usual. In the sixth year, and in the sixth year, a realization came to Najiba. Her daughter needed other people. In her heart, Najiba knew that whatever this child would become, she could only become it within civilization. And so, she used her map and compass and the stars to take her daughter there. What place sounded more promising for her sand colored child than Jawir, which meant home of the Golden Lady? According to Jaririan legend, 700 years ago, there lived a giant Okiki woman made of gold. Her father took her fattening to the fattening hut, and weeks later she emerged fat and beautiful. She married a rich young man. They decided to move to a large town. However, along the way, because of her immense weight, very fat and made of gold, she grew tired, so tired that she had to lay down. The golden lady couldn't get up, so this was where the couple had to settle. For this reason, the flattened land she left was called Jarir. Oh, excuse me, was called Jarir, and those who lived there prospered. It was built long ago by some of the first Okikis to flee to the west. Oh, flee the west. Sorry, to the west. The ancestors of Jarurians were of a special breed indeed. Najiba prayed that she'd never have to tell her strange daughter the story of her conception. But Najiba was a realist too. Life was not easy. I could have killed someone after my mother told me this story. I'm sorry, my mother said. You're so young. But I promised myself the minute anything began happening to you, I would tell you this. Knowing maybe of knowing may be of some use. What happened to you today in that tree, it's just the beginning, I think. I was shaking and sweating. My throat felt raw as I spoke. I, I remember that first day, I said, rubbing the sweat from my brow. You chose that spot in the market to sell some cactus candy. I paused, frowning as it came back to me. That bread seller forced us to move. He shouted at you and looked at me like I touched and pressed the tiny scar on my forehead. I'm going to burn my copy of the great book. It's the cause of all of this. I wanted to drop to my knees and beg Ani to burn the West to the ground. I knew a little about sex. I was even a little curious about it. Well, maybe more suspicious than curious. But I didn't know about this. Sex as violence. Violence that produced children, produced me. That happened to my mother. I stifled an urge to vomit, and then an urge to tear at my skin. I wanted to hug my mother, but at the same time I didn't want to touch her. I was poisoned. I had no right. I couldn't quite bring myself to grasp what that man, that monster, had done to her, not at 11 years old. The man in the photo, the only man I'd ever seen for the first 6 years of my life, wasn't my father. He wasn't even a good person. Betraying bastard, I thought, tears stinging my eyes. If I ever find you, I'll cut off your penis. Fair enough. Cause like who the fuck? Like fuck you. That's real shit. I shuddered, thinking how I wanted to do worse to the man who'd raped my mother. Up to this point, I thought I was Noah. Noah's had two Okiki parents, yet they were the color of sand. I'd ignored the fact that I didn't have the usual red eyes and sensitivity to sunshine. And that aside from their skin color, Noah's basically looked Okiki. I ignored the fact that other Noahs had no problem making friends with normal looking children. They weren't outcasts, as I was. Noahs looked at me with the same fear and disgust as Okiki's of darker shade. Even to them, I was other. Why hadn't my mother burned that picture of her husband, Idris? He'd betrayed her to protect his stupid honor. She told me he died. He should have died, been killed violently. Does Papa know? I hated the sound of my voice. When I sing, I wondered whose voice is she hearing. My biological father could also sing sweetly. Yes, Papa knew from the moment he saw me, I realized. Everyone knew but me. Iwu, I said slowly. This is what it means. I'd never asked. Born of pain, she said. People believe the Iwu born eventually become violent. They think that an act of violence can only beget more violence. I know this isn't true, as you should. I looked at my mother. She seemed to know so much. Mama, has anything like what happened to me in the tree ever happened to you? My dear, you think too hard, was all she said. Come here. She stood up and wrapped me in her arms. We cried and sobbed and wept and bled tears. But when we finished, all we could do was continue living. Whew. All right, yeah. Yeah. Well, that was a heavy ass chapter. God damn. I'm, what broke? What broke? It's, whew, I don't know what. But yo. Oh, that was some heavy shit. That was some heavy ass shiitake mushrooms, you know? Heavy ass shiitake mushrooms. Oh my god. How are we feeling? Those of you who have been here the whole time. Baby, how are you feeling? You checked out for most of it,
I
right?
did check out.
No, that's fine. Okay. Well, that was heavy. I'm liking the imagery, and all of that, but man, man, there's so many there's so many people that ran through my mind. Like reading Najiba's experience. There's so many people that ran through my mind. You know, like yeah, yeah, descriptive like a motherfucker, to say the least. You know, I agree with Onyesu, uh, or Onye. I'm gonna say Onye for short. I agree with Onye. Um, Idris should have died because not only are you're trying to protect your your honor by pushing this woman out of this victim who's gone like literally torn and tattered, and you think protecting your honor is exiling her and not fighting for your people. Then again, I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know how I would react. I don't know what I would have done if I were in a similar situation. Like I really don't, because yeah, that shit is. That's the type of thing that you don't know what you're going to do. You don't know yourself until you're in it, and most of the time, you hope you're in it. Yeah, she definitely stronger than me. Yeah, she's stronger than all of us. Shit, goddamn. That was a crazy ass fucking week. Hi, Baba. Welcome back to Earth. Hey, welcome back, baby. Come here. Come back. Come back to Papa. Come back to them. Hey. Mhm. Hey, sleepyhead. Hi. Yeah, I need to rub my dog. I need some emotional support because that shit was heavy. I am interested to see what these powers are. So we know, yeah, right. Marcel the Marvel. The Marvel, you can remember you Marvel. Yes, and my baby boy. Oh, that's a yawn. Oh, my baby. Uh, so like clear that she has teleportation as a power. Um, maybe some necromancy as a power. Like she was bringing back Papa. For you guys who just popped up, we started this at a funeral. Um, the man that stepped up to be her daddy. We were at his funeral, and she was so distraught about it that she like touched him, and she was almost reanimating his body, like he was breathing. But somebody had to stop her. So yeah, so we got necromancy, at the very least, reanimation, and teleportation. You know, as a power for her. I wonder what else. Her mother clearly. I don't know if her mother is actually talking to Ani. You know, she's obviously gifted. But damn, there's so much uh, blood sacrificed to the sands. Mm, it's hard. It's hard to imagine. But yeah. We just finished chapters 1 through 4 of Hugh Who Fears Death. Um, I'm looking forward to this. This looks like a heavy book to read. There's like 60 some odd chapters though, so uh, we gonna be busy trying to read this one. For real, it's gonna take a couple months to get through this. Whew. Sorry, I'm yawning in bed. You're so handsome. It's kind of dumb how handsome. Ugh. Alrighty, well, I'm gonna go and I don't know, hug my wife, hug my children, contemplate my life and the position in it, and try not to think about Rwanda or the Congo or Palestine or any of the myriad of genocides that are happening, because it seems like things are happening. Yeah. Oh my god. But yeah. Thank you guys again for hanging out with me this Saturday. Um, I don't really know what else to say. I don't really know what else to say. Uh, Tough read. Tough read ahead. But yeah, um, as always, yeah, yeah. No, you're good. You're good. As always, be good to yourselves. Be good to others. Only justice. Um, do what's right, not what's legal. And remember, it's not rocket science. It's community. Oh my god. Oh man. Okay. Love you guys. Bye.